First time I ever did it was actually in youth orchestra when I was 13, 14 years old. And it was already an incredible blast to hear this full orchestra. But then as a highlight, we played the Klingel hymnus. And that was one of the most beautiful musical experiences I had in my early teens. Just the sound of all these cellos coming together, and we stank. But the feeling of this, yeah. A couple of times when I did, for example, the Bachianas Brasileiras, I got a little annoyed because cello ensemble can be so versatile, and sometimes cellists, we have the tendency to overdo it and then get overly enthused, and then it sounds just like a big. But if it's well worked, it's almost as strong as string quartet and even better, because we can do this huge range from very high and very low. And if it's well balanced and well thought through, and if people keep the pick inside and maybe listen a bit, then it's quite amazing. You can get all kinds of sounds. You can get roaring and whispering and anything in between. And that's actually the beauty. It's not just the beauty to play some sexy sound. It should have all variety possible. Well, the number one tip is actually never forget the fundamentals. Never forget the basics. I like to clean. I like to call cleaning the basement, or the basics. This has to be so much taken care of. Now I didn't touch the cello for 2 weeks, and the last 6 days I just spent every day 1.5 hours open strings. And my favorite bow exercise actually is Piatti number 1, but just the first 12 bars, super slow, like really do da ti da ti. Super legato, super tip, and as close to the bridge as possible. And this somehow, I mean, this I do after I did the open string stuff, after getting a feeling for the bow. But this exercise somehow gives me anything I need for bow. And then there's a little Sevchik, one of the variations, and that can take, if I'm not in good shape, that can take half hour, this whole bow segment. And then left hand, some Kosman and für Jahr. Then I heard once a rather famous violinist warming up, like up to an octave, and each finger, and up and the other way around. And I asked her, I said, what are you doing? Well, that's an Oistrach exercise. And I tried it, and fantastic. It completely changed the way how I think of shifting, because I tried to do it from the more the shoulder movement than here. So I was singing now very fast. So again, rather slow. That would be another important hint. Anything you do slow, fast happens by itself. But any exercise slow and only so fast that you feel you do everything right. For example, not pressing here, but trying to use the arm weight. And if you do that, then you're done after half hour of playing any piece. And musically, my number one hint would be, whatever piece you play, throw away all the recordings you have of that piece, or at least lock them away, and just look at the score and try to do justice to what the composer wrote. And then if you feel it's not enough, then come up with your own ideas. Don't do what all the great geniuses did in the past and what the next great geniuses did after. I mean, now I sometimes see people who are the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy of Daniel Chavran. So no, Chavran was an outstanding cellist, but definitely not the greatest musician on this planet. And I know that firsthand from a person who knew him very well. She adored him, and she was like a sister to him. And she said he loved the cello, but music wasn't so important to him. And he wanted to play just perfect, get everything right, and obsessed with this one-dimensional sound, which is amazing, but it's one dimension. So I would actually not take anything from him, except maybe the work ethics to really play the cello well. That's fantastic. But pure musically, definitely don't take that as an idol. It's great entertainment. Listen to it like, whoa, cool. But don't try to copy any of that. If it has to come from you, you have to be as crazy as this guy, and then. But if you copy it, it's just embarrassing. With pieces like Bach suites, yes, since there are no dynamics, you have the whole range open. With other pieces, just stick to what the composer wrote at first, and then record yourself and see if it's really far too boring. Then stretch the limits. But actually, the really great pieces, it's already fantastic if you do what's on the page. It doesn't need much more, especially romantic repertoire. With classical, with Beethoven, there can be more freedom for my taste, but romantic repertoire could be much stricter than most people see it. Because it's all written in there. I mean, if they want to retard, they write it. And if they don't, actually often it makes sense not to do it. Or sometimes the line can also be like this. It doesn't always have to be up and down and like a singer. He's not like this, but yeah, sometimes simple is better than doing too much. But sometimes I tell that a student and then he plays completely boring and bland, and obviously that cannot be it either. So I love to always compare it with language. We don't want to talk like that all the time because then nobody is listening to us. But if I go over the top, then it's a little bit embarrassing because people think I'm completely nuts. But some performances are like that. You hear da 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 da. Aren't you listening to yourself? And I swear, 80% of people who play it for me, they played it like that. Always this funny crescendo at the end of the fourth note. Yeah, fourth note. And then the chords as if it's secco, aggressivo, con mucho aglinizo as possible. Which is not written. You could even think it up at da dee da. It's a line. It's easier to do it down, 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 but it should still sound a line.